All right, so this is notes English Civil War. This is probably one of the more important concepts. So you see, like, how difficult it is to switch to a democracy, especially successfully. All right, so, woo. All right, divine right. Charles was like his father, James I, and believed in the divine right of kings. So hang on, let me see. Okay, that's here. So it's just going to be divine. He's looking a little sleepy. Okay. All right. Okay. I guess this was a kind of a political cartoon at the time. To him, does that say poodle? Puddle, poodle, puddle. Bite him, pepper. So I do believe. I think these are the Cavaliers, and these are the militia or the Roundheads because of their armor. Alright, so they never really got along. Hang on, let's see what goes in here. Charles and the English. Alright, English Parliament never got along. And the Puritans. So the Puritans is like just a subcategory of Protestants, and they are going to be like super strict. And it'll all start kind of slow with just a few changes that they want, and then it's going to get out of control, which is what's going to bring the monarchy back later with Charles II. Charles I's son, Charles II. All right. Obviously, Parliament wants a democracy because they want to be in charge. So, hang on. This is democracy. This is absolute monarchy with, and this is, and I will copy and paste these into the chat. So, Spain, Scotland, and France. So, he wanted the Parliament wants a democracy because they want to vote, they want to be in control of everything. And Charles, of course, he wants to be in control of everything, so he's going to want an absolute monarchy. Totally makes sense. Plus, he's been told, since he was born, hey, it is your right to rule. That's what's supposed to happen. So he is going to want that. And on top of that, Charles has wars going on for various reasons. And the only way for him to get money is through Parliament. Parliament is in control of the money. And so this is supposed to be the kind of checks and balances of this. The monarch doesn't have complete authority to do everything because Parliament is controlling the money. So in a sense, it's the check on the king, so they can't do whatever they want. All right, then we got the Petition of Right. I do believe you need the petition, which is up here. You could copy and paste it from there as well. This is going to be very much like our Bill of Rights. This is the actual, I guess, written part. So, no free man in England should be compelled to contribute to make or yield any gift, loan, or benevolence, tax, tallage, or other such like charge without common consent by act of Parliament. So basically, that no one needs to pay anything unless Parliament says sure. No free man may be taken or imprisoned, or that's too blurred for me, of his freehold or liberties or free customs, or be outlawed or exiled in any manner. Basically, you cannot be put in jail without without the reason for you being there. Alright, here's the long list of all the things. Alright, let's see. Statement of, I do believe it's, so this is civil. So the word civil is going to mean within that country. What comes first? Inalienable or unalienable? Inalienable. These are rights that you cannot give away. They are, you cannot spend them, you cannot give it to somebody else. They are part of you existing. So life, liberty, and property. Now, a lot of times in the United States, you would hear life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. But here the original is life, liberty, and property. So nobody should be stealing your stuff, basically. So, government give forced loans. So, they did not want the king should not have to force the government to give him loans. So in a sense, if they said no to giving him loans, then he would have them arrested. Is it quarter? Yes, quarter. So quartering is when you have to have soldiers stay in a regular citizen's house. So imagine you're in your house, hanging out in your room. Suddenly, a soldier walks in and is like, hey, I'm staying with you guys now, thanks. I'm gonna need this room, so you're sleeping on a couch now. Okay, bye. Kicks you out of your room. Now they're in your bed. You have to feed them. You have to, allow them the space to live there. And I'd hope you could see that ends up being a little problematic. Arrest. Quartering soldiers in a person's house would then save the king money, right? Because he doesn't have to feed them, because the people would end up having to feed them. Petition were included. No taxes may be blank. May be levied. No subject may be arrested. Imprisoned. Without cause shown. Reaffirmation of the right of habeas corpus. They must let you know why you're being arrested. So if they come up to you and they're like, you're arrested, they need to tell you why. Is that right? This is Latin, I do believe. No, I spelled it wrong in the thing. There we go. Be careful here. So whenever you hear, maybe on a show or whatever, when they're like, you're being arrested for the murder of, or you're being arrested for whatever it happens to be, Grand Theft Auto. And they can get in gigantic trouble if they do not do that. Martial law, I do believe. So, alright, so martial law is, it's almost like an emergency law in a sense. So the king would be able to make laws without having to go through parliament, such as any kind of like curfews or maybe if he needed money, things like that. Where are we at? Yeah. No soldiers may be quartered upon the citizens' houses. Yes. So this is kind of like, all right, you can bypass these other laws, but the idea normally is that this is used in times of war where you have to make quick decisions. And the king would have probably used this in times of peace, and that's why they had to put it in there. Charles clearly broke the promises. Of course he did. He just wants the money, right? So he just wants the money so he can do what he needs to do. And so he's just going to sign whatever. All right, let's see. When Charles learned Parliament was plotting to take his power away, he gathered blank soldiers. I do believe it's, yes, 500. 500 soldiers. He led them to the House of Commons and tried to arrest leaders. So the House of Commons is like Congress, or if you remember the Capitol being stormed, right, by the protesters and broken into. That's similar, all right? So, except for this time, it's the king's soldiers. So let's see. He gathered 500 soldiers, and this is Charles failed. So he went there, and yeah, he was not able to make that happen. Once he did this, like, this was basically an act of civil war. So, war within the country, right? The civil thing is within the country. All right, so here we've got the Cavaliers over here. You'll normally see them depicted with the wider hats. At the same time, most of them wore armor. Evidently, wait a second. No. No. Are these? No, maybe these are. Yeah, they have the red sashes, right? Right? Yes, these are Cavaliers. These are the Puritans, because they have this. They said it was orange, but I guess. Close enough. Yeah, that makes sense. All right. I should probably click on this, right? So we've got the royalists, so that makes sense. So the people who support the royalty. Yeah, I watched a video where the guy was saying it was orange, but that looks pretty yellow to me, unless the painting's like faded. And this is the militia. Yeah. So militia is essentially it's almost like you've created your own army in a sense. So it's not created by the government. So let's say somebody attacked the United States, right? And you'd have soldiers, and then you could have people who are private citizens who get together in the town, and they're like, all right, we're militia. We are fighting on the same side as these, or maybe not. I mean, if it's a civil war, but they can fight the soldiers or also be on the soldiers' side. So that's going to be militia. So not paid for by the government. Well, in this case, it's iffy because you've got Parliament is part of government, but he's also part of government. All right. Was that it for this one? Yeah. All right. Charles had trained soldiers and experienced commanders. Charles had. So this is trained. Parliament had control of the navy in the richest part of the country. Money is going to make the biggest difference in war. Oh, the militia. I didn't put it in here. We've got trained, then we've got navy. Roundheads were well put together. With good armor and good fighting skills, they beat Charles in 2 major battles and forced him to flee to, I believe, Scotland. Yes. So there were multiple battles, but there were 2 major ones, and that's where Charles lost. And once you lose a bunch of soldiers, and you don't have more money, then you've lost the war. So he ends up fleeing to Scotland, which is, it's right there by England. So, but they weren't happy with him either. Scotland wasn't happy with him, so they were like, here, you can have this guy back. We don't need him. We don't like this guy. So they just gave him back to Parliament. They're like, here, you can take him back. We don't want him either. Gave you a lovely picture over here. Charles' head, holding that up. Here he is on this block where they'd end up chopping his head off. So he was charged for treason. Which was trying to overthrow the king. So he was like trying to overthrow himself, basically. At the time, this is kind of what it was. And this is... So eventually treason's going to be just against trying to take over the government in general or betraying your government. Now it would be like betraying it to another country, let's say. So if you gave secret intelligence to Russia or something like that. All right. So he's going to get beheaded. And this is going to be the first time that a king is publicly executed. And that is going to mean a lot. So, I mean, there would be assassinations. There would be some where one king might kill another one and take over, but it wasn't done in front of the people. And this one was. And that changes everything. Because when you go and you chop off the king's head, who is supposed to be, that God was supposed to be the one who allowed this individual to rule, it's like, what in the world is going on here? So essentially at that point they're like, okay, are we going to suffer the wrath of this? And then when nothing really happened, nothing significant, it was like, oh, divine right is not necessarily 100% accurate. Let's just put it that way.